terms of the dollar amount? I know you've done it over the previous years. What is the projection in terms of revenue from this part if it continues to be able to fund all the programs and things? I mean, I like what you're saying because I think it's needed in terms, especially from the technological aspect of it, and being able to share it with parents because they're doing it in colleges already. So I mean, to do it, bring it into the schools and just further get the kids used to it before they start college. But what is the dollar amount of money that you're looking to receive from this line?
Ms. Ingram, go back a slide. Go back, maybe. There you go. That's the dollar amount that we expect to collect on the slide.
Okay.
But the thing of it is that, for instance, this time we expected to collect maybe $900 million for slots. And we had to move our projections back to about $600-700 million because the economy was such that a lot of people did not spend those pennies for us, so we had to move those things back. And what we did, we moved back to middle schools, and I don't know whether you were here when she put up the schools that we're going to try to, let me just say this and be real honest with you. South Fulton will be getting a lot of this money because look at what we're doing. Go back one, the replacement schools. You just passed. Go back one more. What we're okay, there, that's where College Park, Harriet Tubman, Mount Olive, and Oak Knoll will be closed.
Okay.
We will replace those 4 schools with 2 brand new schools because those are small schools when you talk about it. And right now, when we build a school for an elementary, when we build an elementary school, I think we can probably accommodate about 1,200, 1,000 to 1,200. Those schools that we're closing will not accommodate that number of students, and that's why we can close 4 schools and build 2 new schools. College Park was feeling, because we said we were going to close College Park, they were feeling a little heat because they said that they didn't have any schools in College Park. So one of those schools we kind of committed to building in College Park. The other, I'm almost positive, will probably be built in East Point because you're talking about Mount Olive and Oak Knoll, which are schools that are existing in East Point at this time. So we would, but you know what? I've been on the board 100 years, as you well know.
Amen. Amen.
100
I think it's 101.
And what I am going to say now, you will understand. We have looked for property in East Point over a period of time.
Right.
And you all are about built out.
Right, we are.
So if we close those schools and try to replace them, we're going to probably have to replace somewhere where those schools are, but you got to have enough property to do it. Because as I said, you were just almost, we did Paul D. West, I believe it was, and we built the school while we had the school, we had enough property there. So it's an issue when you start talking about building new schools because of the fact that you gotta have the property to do it. And East Point just does not have a lot of property. But we are committed to do something in College Park and East Point because we are going to close those schools. And we are going to close, and I have been fighting since I've been on the board about McNair. McNair needs to come down and another school needs to be built in that area because it was never built for a middle school. It was a high school. And the children are converted to a middle school. And it's just not a good facility for middle school children.
We also got Gillette. It's going to be built. That's in
I'm glad y'all get that school out there. Hold on.
We didn't say we was getting it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Just on this moving forward thing. Now, as you're building new schools, and I've heard from your constituents, and some of them are not here, but it's okay. As you're building new schools, and you're trying to accommodate what you see or what you currently have, are you thinking about building schools that will accommodate in the future so we won't have to keep going through this process? Instead of, let's say right now these schools only hold a potential 300 students, okay? And you're closing them because they're overcrowded. So therefore, let's say 600, they hold 300, they have about 450 there with trailers. You build a school for 1,000 and you move 2 schools into that. Honestly, is that being proactive? Because at the rapid increase, should we be building a school that may hold 2,500? You know, I'm just, because and understand, this is a question from the constituents of the community, because one of the things that they've been plagued with is by the time these new schools are being built, they're coming in with trailers, okay? And it kind of defeats the purpose of what the whole intent of is. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, a lot of times that has been happening because South Fulton was the area in which where we were growing the most, because families were moving into South Fulton. We had the land. It was a beautiful secret for a long time because we have the land. When you start going out of South Fulton, the land let's say Sandy Springs.
Mm-hmm.
There's $1 million an acre in Sandy Springs.
Let's stay south.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't deal with all, let's stay south.
But trying to make a comparison therefore is the growth is South Fulton,
Right.
because that's where we have the land. And building that, let me just get to your question. You said, why don't we build it for 3,000 or 1,000 or something of that nature? Well, when you look at it educationally, I can let him speak to this. If you build it too large, then you don't do a good job with your students. You'd have to have a school within a school and all this kind of thing. So what we try to do is have a community school, you know, where it's, and the state says you build a school around 1,000, if it's an elementary school. But look at what we've got in the high schools. We have Westlake with 2,500 students. You have Tri-Cities with a couple of thousand students. So the high schools are large, but when you're educating little ones, your schools don't need to be that large. They don't, because you don't educate as well when they're that large.
And the other thing is that the State Department, first of all, before the State Department will fund us, we have to show there's need for additional classroom spaces. So we can't, and I know, you know, to the common person, they say, well, why don't we build it for 3,000? It's almost like you can't build it until you have the need, and then State Department, the capital fund for the State Department kicks in. So they look at the need for it, and then you get funding for it. So you have to, so it's
Kind of like putting the cart before the horse, though, isn't it?
You have to almost be overcrowded to make
Right.
But that's the funding, and that's the State Department.
And I understand, and like I say, this is just a question that they've been saying, and
Well, I know.
you know, and I have to.
Let me add on to that. When you look at the prototype of our schools, we do try to make the schools, the layout of the schools, so that you can put, like at Paul D. West, you have wings out there, so you can bridge those 2 wings and put some additional classrooms there without having to buy additional lands. So we're able to have a little bit of flexibility in the way that our prototypes have set up. So when our architects come to us and ask us to look at a new prototype, we always ask them, how can we expand a little bit? We can't expand a huge amount, but we can add some classrooms on the newer schools that we have the new prototypes.
Okay, one, 2 more questions, because and we're gonna have other forums like this, but this is not our whole agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Just one quick question. I wanted to know, do you all take in consideration the new developments that are coming into the park?
Yes.
Okay.
We always take those into consideration because we have to count those students while we're doing it. But you know, the economy has gotten to us to some degree. There's so many foreclosures out there, so many homes that are vacant, that we did not this year have the number of new students that we thought we could have had. So the growth has slowed down a bit.
But they move somewhere.
I got into about my previous person, and I'm you know, because I'm 8 point, I'm from South Florida, but I'm East Point. I guess for me, because as I go back and talk to